What's up, guys? Welcome to Good Morning Lambeau. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text us 865-658-5824. Join alongside Tim in Green Bay, a snowy Green Bay. I think you guys are expecting, 1 to 2 inches of snow today, Tim? Is that correct, sir?
That's right. Little dusting just in time for Monday Night Football. We'll take it.
That's exactly right. Now, it looks like there might be a chance of flurries during the game. Hopefully, it does linger around a little bit. That'd be a lot of fun. But it looks like the majority of that snow is going to be moved out by the time we kick off. So shouldn't have too much of a factor in the outcome of the game on this glorious December 23rd as we get ready for Monday Night Football. It's hard to believe Christmas is in 2 days, man. I got to get out and do a little bit of last-second shopping today and take care of some stuff. So, and if you guys are looking for a special gift for someone, I'll tell you where you can go. You can go to Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packer Fan Total Access Live. Wisconsin-based since 92, specializing in Packers tickets. They are Wisconsin's largest ticket source with offices next to Lambeau and in Milwaukee. Click on the link in the video description and it'll send you to their website, theticketking.com. You can register as a customer there and go ahead and start shopping for your Packers tickets. Again, that's Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packer Fan Total Access Live. That'd be the perfect gift, Tim. Grab somebody some tickets to that Bears game, that final game of the season. Surprise them with it. You're good to go, man. That's perfect. Perfect Christmas present.
Right. January football at Lambeau Field. That's an excellent treat right there. And of course, against the Bears.
Yeah,
that'll be
get a glimpse of that all day long. You know what I'm saying? That type of thing. So. All right, let's do this, man. Let's kind of go rapid fire this morning. We're going to walk through Twitter real quick. And there ain't much going on. It's just everybody getting ready for Monday Night Football. I thought this was funny. Adam Schefter said to prepare for Monday night's game in Green Bay, the Saints quarterback coach, Andrew Janako, I hope I'm saying that right, took Spencer Rattler and the rest of his quarterbacks into the walk-in freezer in the team's cafeteria Saturday to run through plays. So first thing I thought is maybe Spencer Rattler's arm isn't strong enough to throw a football the distance of the freezer, but obviously I'm joking. They're just doing walkthroughs. But I thought that was interesting, man, just trying to get them acclimated to the colder weather, and it's going to feel like a freezer. There's no doubt about it, man.
Yeah, that's cool. Do what you got to do to get your team ready, right? But that isn't going to prepare you for what it's going to feel like to take hits from Rashawn Gary and exactly. The boys out in the elements. But no, I think that's funny, though. It's whatever they got to do. At least they're making the effort, right?
Right.
We know the Dolphins didn't do that earlier this year. They came up here and got spanked. So we'll see. We might be in for a game tonight, guys.
I thought it was cute, though. Yeah.
Isn't that special?
Unless they're going to get in there and run into milk crates or something. I'm not sure how that's going to prepare them for getting thumped, like you said.
They caught all the linemen in there eating all the food up.
Exactly. All right, let's move it along here. This was kind of cool. Just everybody, like I said, getting ready as ESPN tweeted out this picture of a snow flying with Josh Jacobs and obviously the honey badger down there in New Orleans. Says a Monday night showdown in Lambeau with the snow emoji. Saints Packers 8:15 Eastern kickoff on ESPN and ABC. So everybody just getting geared up for the game. I thought this was really neat. Listen, I understand there's a lot of Troy Aikman and Joe Buck haters. I want to get your take on it, Tim. I want to get Jacob's take too. He may join us here in a minute. He may have gotten busy though, couldn't make it this morning. But Joe and Troy are ready. Joe Buck tweeted this out. He said, Monday Night Football from Green Bay tomorrow. The pack is hot. The weather cold. Will be fun. Let's see what he had to say here.
Little Beck Odelay, some work, Lambeau, and volunteers shoveling snow. Guys, we're not giving you these tickets for nothing. Seems a bit overkill, but it's the way they do things here in Green Bay.
Damn
perfection. Right. Around the grand old lady.
Love it. Love the respect he paid to the obviously to the stadium there, the grand old lady. I personally like Joe and Troy. I think they do a good job calling games. I know Packer fans, you correct me if I'm wrong, Tim. Maybe I'm reading too much into the negative, but it seems like Packer fans really despise those two guys. And let us know in the chat, do you guys do you fall into that group that you don't like Joe and Troy on the call, or do you think it's overblown there? Sure.
I think it's a little overblown. I've always preferred Joe Buck calling baseball games to football, but I still like the the combination with Troy Aikman, I don't have a problem with it. And Troy knows ball, and Joe Buck is probably one of the top tier dudes when it comes to your play-by-play guys. So I don't have a problem with it. But I think the Packer fans that do, they probably fall in that same category where they're not happy about anything. Those are the same people that complain after we win games, probably.
Nick McSwain in the chat said, "I like them too. Why does everyone even hate them?" To me, the way that I've always understood it is when something negative happens for the Packers, and Joe and Troy will say something negative about the negative thing that happened, they immediately take it as, hey, they're rooting against us. And I honestly, Tim, I believe we're in the minority with this, and we'll find out. Nick's on board with us. He doesn't see it either. Guys, that's you run it through the filter of when they say something negative, are they telling the truth? If they're telling the truth, then they're not hating, right? That's the reality of the situation. So, but I do know they're out there, and they're out there in droves that really don't like it. Now, I respect Troy a lot, what he did, when he played. And if you go watch his football life on NFL Network, man, what a great story it was. Just one of those dudes that kind of was always trying to prove himself. You get some of these guys like Aaron Rodgers, Tim, that everyone doubted him. And you got other guys like Troy that's like the golden goose. He was supposed to be the real deal. And to me, that's more difficult trying to live up to that as opposed to no one's expecting you to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like you're kind of, right. When no one expects you to do it, you're kind of playing with the house's money. When you're in like Troy Aikman shoes or like a Dan Marino shoes or someone like that was just propped up as his top prospect, I can only imagine the pressures a lot.
Absolutely. And I don't understand, like, anyone who doesn't like them, please, in the comments, what are your reasons? Mm-hmm. Like, I never hear why they don't like them. I only hear that they don't like them. Here, .com. Can't stand Troy and Buck. Okay, I get it. I mean, hey, Troy and the Cowboys did some damage to the Packers back in the 90s. Okay, so there's a reason not to like Troy Aikman. I totally get that, but I don't understand the Joe Buck hate. Yeah, I don't know where it comes from.
You can hate the player Troy Aikman and like the commentator, right? Like the person.
Exactly.
All Good says, I don't mind Buck, hated Aikman years back.
Yeah, see, there you go. Makes sense.
Yeah. Fred McFarley says, I mute them and listen to the radio feed with Wayne and Rock. Hey, you can't go wrong with that. That's for sure.
There's a guy right there.
We got Rob Westerman in here. Everybody sit up straight. The man, the myth, the legend's in the chat. He says, Joe and Troy, I like them. Agreed, Tim. Buck is great for baseball as well. And remember, I think it was Joe Buck's dad, right? What was his name? Jack Buck, I believe. Yep. I think he was actually in the press box for the Ice Bowl, too. If I remember correctly, I think might have been Frank Gifford telling the story. One of the announcers at the Ice Bowl told the story of he looked over Jack Buck looked over at Giff and said, you having a drink of coffee? And Giff held up his cup and turned it upside down. His coffee had completely froze. He said, I'm having a bite of coffee because it kept freezing on him in the glass. I'm pretty sure that was Joe Buck's dad. He called baseball forever and obviously was involved with football too. So, Rob, appreciate you swinging through, buddy. Venom Slash says, I like Troy and Joe much better than Collinsworth, but I like Mike Tirico. So Collinsworth catching some shade here. And maybe this kind of goes back to like how I view films. Tim, I don't watch a whole lot of movies, but when I do sit down and watch a movie, there's very few movies that I find myself going, man, I didn't like that. I can kind of take it for what it is, but right. I'm not like a huge film nerd. The people that really, really watch every movie that comes out, they're going to critique them a lot harsher. Maybe I just don't understand that aspect of art, But when it comes to announcers, I can kind of take them for what they're worth. Like the four guys we're talking about, Troy and Joe, along with Chris Collinsworth and Mike Tirico, they're all individual people, right? And I think they bring something to the table. I love Mike Tirico as kind of like this kind of calming voice. Doesn't get too high, too low. He'll show excitement when he needs to. Chris Collinsworth is kind of, to me, I always view what he's saying through a player who's a top 50 player in Cincinnati Bengals history. He's on that list. Yep. And a guy that was the fastest, if I remember correctly, he was the fastest or second fastest prospect when he came out that year in the draft. So you got a guy who actually balled, right?
Yep.
Back in the day. Troy,
he's like that uncle you want to talk ball with all the time. Right. That's how I look at Collinsworth.
Yeah. You got a chance to meet Collinsworth, didn't you, Tim? You had to go in a great game. How was he as a person, just meeting him face to face, man?
He was great. And his son Jack too. Very nice guy in person. So I don't understand the hatred. I wasn't blessed enough to meet Mike Tirico, one of my all-time favorites, but Chris Collinsworth, I met him a couple years ago after a game here in Green Bay, and he took the time to chat with us and met a couple of my friends, took some photos, hung out a little bit. Really nice dude, stand-up dude. So I don't get the hate at all for Collinsworth.
Definitely. And Troy Aikman, first ballot Hall of Famer, and of course Joe Buck been doing it forever. I remember listening to Joe Buck when he first got started on Fox. I want to say it was like early 90s, like 91, 92. He was a young whippersnapper before he obviously became one of the leads there for sure. So let's see here. Nick says he can't think of anyone that he hates as far as an announcing team. There's really no one that again, most of the time I had a surround sound hooked up forever, and I finally got rid of it. I wish I hadn't. I would actually unplug the center speaker where the announcers would come out and still get the stadium noise popped in. That's how I like to watch games. But nowadays, I do tend to turn the announcers back up. As recent as last year or the year before, I would keep them turned all the way down because I couldn't stand just the catering to the casual, I don't know if he got it or not. No crap, Sherlock. Tell me what the quarterback told you during the week that they were going to try to do to attack this specific defense, or give me a little bit of background on this player I haven't heard of. That's the type of stuff I look for. So, let's see. Anthony in the chat says, I have no issue with Joe and Troy, never have. Good deal, man. So it seems like this is surprising. The majority of the people in here don't mind him, right? Don't mind them, I should say. So that's very, very interesting. Let's see here. .com says, mostly due to the fact they always are biased, in my opinion. It takes them both forever to give the Packers their props on anything. Yeah,
okay, so that's a reason. I mean, if that's how you're seeing that, then hey, I respect it. At least you can provide a reason for your strong dislike of the boys. Exactly.
So yeah, I don't really see it that way. When I've watched them, it hasn't felt like that to me. It's again, when they say something, is it true? Yes or no? If it's not true, I'm on board with it. Again, though, I don't want to turn this into a debate or an argument. I was just curious because it seems like I always see Packer fans that don't like them, and I never really understood it. So, J. Cole, I like Troy, and I like Joe and Troy. Good stuff. So yeah, it seems this is surprising. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. All right.
We got to go over to Lodge Kohler there and go say good morning to him.
Yeah.
Looks like he's up there. Is that the suite you stayed in there, Clayton? He's like got the view of Lambeau there. Looks like he's on the third floor.
With the camera view, I'm a little bit to the right. I was probably 3 rooms down to the right, to be honest with you.
I'm kidding, by the way. Nobody go stalk Joe Buck, please. Leave
he's in room 213. No, I'm just joking. Lodge Kohler is awesome, man. I always mess up the name. It's either Lodge Kohler or Kohler Lodge. I can't remember which one goes first. Doesn't really matter to me. I know this. Their breakfast buffet is phenomenal. And if you go through Packer fan tours, which is, obviously Ticket King's where you want to go to get individual tickets and stuff. If Ticket King had packages, I'd be going to Ticket King for all my packages too. And maybe they'll do that in the future. Who knows? But Packer fan tours, which is now called Event USA, I always get the package where you stay at the Lodge Kohler, you get like 2 or 3 free meals, you get a tailgate party ticket, you get just a bunch of different extras, like a little souvenir. Like last year, we got like a big coffee cup, like kind of like a Yeti style, whatever, Stanley, whatever you want to call it. And typically this is the room we go for, is one that's got a Lambeau Field view. It's awesome, man. And then of course, when you eat breakfast, it's just surrounded by glass windows. It's overlooking Lambeau. And when we went, last time we went there a couple years ago, actually 3 years ago when we went, it wasn't the most recent time we went. It was just dumping snow down on game day. So we got up game day morning, and it was a night game, actually a 4:30 kickoff for that particular trip. Went in, eat breakfast, watch snow falling on Lambeau Field. It was just awesome, man. So they do a great job over there for sure. It's expensive, don't get me wrong. And
but it's worth it. If you want to treat yourself, it's totally worth it. Love some Tavern in the Sky and Lodge Kohler for sure.
Tavern in the Sky after a win is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like we went immediately straight back there and went up, and it was shoulder to shoulder in there where the old fashions were flowing. Go out on the patio where there's gas fireplaces, and it's overlooking Lambeau and everything as well. It's just a really cool environment for sure, man. I think that was pretty much it. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of set the mood here for the game coming up tonight. Obviously, it's going to be a dandy. I can't wait till we get to kickoff. We will be doing a pregame show, roughly 1 hour, probably about an hour and a half before we go, before the game kicks off. So make sure you guys come back for that. We'll be giving you all the up-to-date information as we get closer to kickoff. And since we're already on the subject in terms of this game and the implications that it may have on the playoffs, I've actually got a screen grab here. Here is the updated NFC standings, Tim, after the Dallas game last night. Obviously, Dallas is eliminated, but them defeating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they now fall to 8-7.
How about them Cowboys? Thanks, Mike.
That was a fun game to watch. Was it not fun, man? That was a hard
man.
game.
I'm telling you.
I thought Baker Mayfield was dead on the field a couple times.
I mean, we broke Dallas last year in the playoffs, clearly, but they somehow put the pieces back together and got this dub. That was incredible. So happy. Mike always looking out for Green Bay still. I love it. Thank you.
Look at this. Randy Steen with the super chat. I hope this is true, Randy. Jordan is now sponsored by Toyota per his IG post. Huh? We did it, fellas. We did it. We're gonna stay claim that. We've been saying for the last couple of weeks, man, Toyota needs to sponsor that, dude. That's absolutely awesome, dude. I hope that's
they're giving away a forerunner for every touchdown pass or what? We got to find out how that works.
That's a lot of forerunners. Thank you so much, Randy, for the information. That's awesome, dude. Absolutely awesome. Look at Nick. Get that bag, Pookie. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. All right, so let's go to the like I said, we're hit the standings here real quick. We'll go to the playoff simulator and talk about what's on the line tonight as the Packers get set.
Playoffs?
Here on Monday Night Football. So the 1 seed, the Lions at 13-2. The Eagles are the 2 seed at 12-3. 3 seed are the Rams at 9-6. The 4 seed is the Falcons at 8-7. The 5 seed is the Minnesota Vikings at 13-2. The Packers are the 6 seed at 10-4. The Commanders are the 7 seed at 10-5. So obviously tonight, if the Packers win against the Saints, then you'll get a 1-game lead over the Commanders. If you lose that game, we're going to find out exactly what happens with the playoff simulator here. Now, again, Tampa Bay Buccaneers losing that game to Dallas was huge because they're now 2 games behind us before tonight's game, along with Seattle. Both of those teams sitting at 8-7. So everyone else eliminated, and the Bucs and the Seahawks are on the cusp of being eliminated. If the Packers win tonight, obviously they are in the playoffs. But let's talk about specifically how this game tonight could affect the seeding in the playoffs. Again, if the Packers win, we know they're in. That's the mantra today, obviously. But when we look at how this game could impact the seeding, you can see the Packers are currently the 6th seed, right? Washington's the 7th seed. So if the Packers win tonight, that stays the same, obviously. Okay. If the Packers lose tonight, they fall to the 7th seed, and the Commanders will improve to the 6th seed. All right. So that's the playoff implications that are on the line tonight. Again, if the Packers win, they're in, and they maintain that 6th seed going into week 17 with two games to go, essentially. So pretty cool stuff, man, that Dallas gave us a little bit of help there last night. Is there anything else you want to look at from the playoff simulator? Do you want to look ahead a week or two, Tim, or are we good? We
I like looking at this. I'm just going to burn this image into my brain here that there's no Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the playoffs at all. I'm not afraid of any of these teams. I feel like we can beat anyone. We're going to go bring Lombardi home. But it's something about Baker and those guys that it's kind of been a thorn in our butts in previous playoff appearances. So I'll take Atlanta over Tampa Bay all day. But no, I think Pac's got to just take care of business, man. I'm with you, Clay. I think we just we win tonight, and we beat the Vikings next week, and we beat the Bears, and we win out. We go in strong, close our season strong, and march right into the playoffs, man.
Yeah, the big thing too, the talking point that I'm noticing across social media, Tim, both on Facebook and on Twitter, we need to get a Facebook page up and running. We had one for a bit. It got banned because we were going live on Facebook, and there's some kind of special requirement on Facebook. You're evidently not allowed to turn the camera on and talk to people. Sounds awful strange to me, but it is what it is. So the big thing is, if you end up being the 7th seed, you got to go to Philly, right? If you're the 6th seed, as it sits right now, you'd be going to the LA Rams. So what's really going to come down to, in my opinion, Tim, is, and this could flip too, the Philadelphia Eagles could climb up in the 1 seed and Detroit drop down. There's a big difference, in my opinion, and I want to get your thoughts on it, between being the 6th seed and the 7th seed. I mean, the difference of playing either LA or the Falcons, either the Rams or the Falcons, as opposed to the Eagles or the Lions, is a pretty big difference. Now, listen, you're going to have to face one of those two teams sooner or later if you're going to win the whole damn thing. Don't get me wrong. So it's not like it's a huge ordeal, but that seems to be the big talking point right now is, hey, let's hold on to this 6th seed. Right? And somehow, some way, if it's possible to climb up the 5th seed, it would take catastrophic failure here on Minnesota's part in the last 2 weeks to make that happen, I would imagine. So.
Yeah, for sure. I'm with you. I mean, obviously, we don't want to be the 7th seed, but I don't care. 6th, 5th, 1st with a bye, that would have been nice. We just got to win ball games. That's it. And we got to fear no one and just win ball games. But there is some logic to not wanting to have to face a juggernaut in your first round of the playoffs. Like, I understand, but fear nobody, respect everyone, go out and get a win. That's all it is. It's a new season, like you said, right, Clay?
Yeah, definitely, man. Biz in the chat, good to see you, buddy. He says, a little worried about the Rams because they're playing a little better, but after the wild card week, I don't think it matters. That's a great point, too. The Rams are playing really good football, .com says, yeah, I agree on the Rams, but I think we can take them. I think any of these teams can beat each other. I really believe that. And I know that's kind of a boring take. It's not a hot take, but I mean, I could see Washington beating Detroit the way they played yesterday. I could see, Atlanta beating us. I could see Atlanta beating Detroit. I could see Minnesota beating the Eagles. I can, and obviously with the way the Lions and the Eagles have played this year, I could see them, winning out and winning the whole thing too. It's going to be interesting, man. It does feel like the NFC is a much tougher conference than the AFC. It's just at the top of the AFC, you got those two powerhouses in the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. So essentially what we're looking at is the top 2 teams in the AFC right now are the Chiefs and the Bills, and the top 2 in the NFC are the Lions and the Eagles. That's really kind of the powerhouse. Other than that, man, any of these other teams I think could get hot and win the whole thing at any point. So going to be interesting, man. So again, there is your playoff picture. Now, Tim, we're going to continue what we did yesterday with breaking down the contracts and kind of looking a little bit ahead into the future of the Packers and seeing exactly what people are getting paid. We're looking at it from position groups. Yesterday, we did a full deep dive and breakdown of the offensive side of the ball. So today we're going to focus on the defensive side. So let's just take it position by position here, and let's look at defensive line, okay? And again, this is adjusted by cap hit per player, okay, and by year. So you'll see your 2024 right there. So cap hit this year, Kenny Clark, $26.3 million. Rashawn Gary, $11.1. So Rashawn Gary's contract is actually his cap hit this year is $15 million less than Kenny Clark's this year. And again, this is why we've been on that whole, hey, let's stop pretending like just because he got a new contract, he's overpaid. Now, the way they chose to do it was the biggest cap hit will hit in 2025, right, with Rashawn Gary. So you're going to see that blimp up next year. And then as you get into year 3 and 4, the Packers can get out of the contract, the same as pretty much all of these contracts that they have here. So again, Kenny Clark, 26.3. Then it drops off dramatically to Rashawn Gary at 11.1, Lucas Van Ness at 3.9, Devontae Wyatt at 3.5, TJ Slayton at 3.1, and then Colby Wooden at 1.1, Kingsley Enagbare, $1 million. Well, you're talking about a hell of a deal, Tim. Kingsley Enagbare at $1 million flat. You talk about outperforming your contract, man. That dude's played lots out. Carl Brooks has made an impact too. $968,000. Brenton Cox Jr., $918,000. It's pretty wild seeing some of the value you're getting from some of those bottom guys. But when you jump to 2025 for the defensive line room, you got Kenny Clark. His cap hit will now fall to $20.3 million, and Rashawn Gary's will blimp to $25.5 million. Okay, so they're kind of switching a little bit. So if you take the overall cap hit over the next 2 years, including this year and 2025, Gary's combined cap hit would be somewhere around $46.6 million, right? And I know there's people that say, well, Gary's a blimp up next year and he's going to pass Kenny. $46.6 million. If you look at Gary's over that 2-year period, you're looking at $36 million. So he's $10 million cheaper in a 2-year span, not including $15 million cheaper this year, right? So Rashawn Gary, I feel like they knocked that contract out of the park. That's just my opinion. And again, I know there's some people that are kind of, I don't know about that. Let me show you guys something here. We've talked all year long, and I'll come back to this in a second, Tim, and get your take on it. But I want to point this out while we're talking about it. We've talked all year long about the pressures, right, for our boy Rashawn Gary. When you break down the pressures, we go pass rush if it'll load here. Quarterback pressure percentage, Rashawn Gary leads the team at 13.1%. Next is Kingsley Enagbare at 9.8, Lucas Van Ness at 9.7, TJ Slayton at 8.3, Devontae White at 8.2. So obviously Gary is worth the money with the pressure he forces, as well as leading the team in sacks with 6.5 sacks, right? Kingsley Enagbare second with 4.5. LV ends up to 3 now. But the thing that many people don't talk about is what about their run defense? You know, we've talked about it all year long. Rashawn has been a stud in the run D.
That's such a great point, Clayton. I feel like the fan base glosses over that. They would fixate on pass rush and sacks and pressures, and it's like, has anybody noticed that our run defense is like legit this year, and these guys are gap discipline and doing their job, which we haven't seen in the past? Go ahead, continue. I'm sorry. I want to point that out. I feel like we totally bypassed the run defense, which has made a huge improvement this year, and one of the reasons why we're where we're at right now, going into the last parts of the season, heading into the playoffs.
Right, and Tim, basically what we've done, we've uncovered we've got a legit top 10 run defense, right? We've talked about that over and over and over. So why are they a top 10 run defense? Well, let's look at the run stops, guys. Keep in mind, run stops, you can have a ton of tackles, and they be 8, 10, 12 yards down the field and still count as a tackle. A run stop is like 3 yards or less. Like you're actually stopping the run from advancing beyond that 3-yard mark. It might even be 2. But this is a metric, and they use it through GPS tracking, obviously, for these defensive players. When you look at run stops, look who's leading the team in run stops. Rashawn Gary with 33. So he has not only been our best pass rusher, whether you look at quarterback pressures or sacks, he's been the best pass rusher on the team, but he's also been the best run defender. And I feel like we as a podcast, all of us have done a good job, especially on Chalk Talk, of highlighting that this year. We would constantly show you, hey, look, here's Gary with another run stop. Gary with another run stop. So it's obvious that they're taking a little bit of attention off of the pass rush and keying in on the run aspect of the defense. And Gary is, again, at 33, the closest one to him is Kingsley Enagbare with 24. So Kenny Clark right there in the middle, he's only got 23. TJ Slayton with 20. And what's crazy about the TJ Slayton number, Tim, look at this. He's only played 39.7% of the snaps, and he's almost got more run stops than Kenny Clark at the game. He's got sitting there with 20. It's pretty wild. And Lucas Van Ness right behind him with 17. So Van Ness, to me, it feels like that's Van Ness's strength, is really stopping the run. But I just wanted to hit on that, and we'll get back to the contracts in a second. That I don't want to say it surprised me because we've seen Gary pop on tape all year long with run defense, but I just wanted to highlight it here to show, hey, look, it's not just the pass rush that he's our best pass rusher. He's also our best run defender.
Absolutely. And worth every penny of the contract for sure.
Definitely. So just wanted to take a quick look at that, and we may revert back to it here in a minute. We will keep that screen handy. Let's go back to the contracts now. And again, as you're looking at this defensive line room, I like to separate them into edge defender and defensive tackle, but they obviously do not do that on here, so they've got them combined. When we look at this, though, Lucas Van Ness, if he continues to pop, we got him under contract for 2 more years, and he's going to be, to the tune of $4.7 million, a little over 5, probably 5.5 as it's all said and done. Let me widen it out, and I'll tell you for sure here. It's going to get small, but I'll take it back in. So he'll be 4.7 next year and then 5.5 the following year. And, of course, you'll have the option of hitting him with the 5th-year option there. Devontae Wyatt, 3.5 this year. He jumps up to $4 million next year, and then you got the 5th-year option if you want to take that. Obviously, that's going to hit. You got to make that decision this year, if I remember correctly. So this offseason, that'll be a decision that's got to be made. For sure. So Kobe Wooden sitting at 1.2, great value there. Kingsley Enagbare is the one that blows me away, Tim. I mean, Unfortunately, he is going to be an unrestricted free agent after next year. So if you're going to keep him, you're going to have to extend him beyond 2025. But, man, what a contributor he's been. When we look at the pressures, we look at the sacks, also the run stops. Kingsley Enagbari's been a great asset, and this is really how you put together a strong roster, is making sure you got guys with depth in the depth of the roster and the depth chart that's really providing some quality play.
I remember when he first got to Green Bay and we couldn't even say his name right.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, hey, who's this guy? He's showing flashes. And now he's definitely an integral part of this defense, no matter how you slice it. You know, one of those guys we talk about where, you know, he could start for you and you don't feel bad about it if you need him to start for you, right? But also a great rotational guy, and plays with his hair on fire every single down of football. And he's just fun to watch, man. Glad that he's here.
Me too, man. John in the chat says, do you sign Slayton or let him walk?
Oh, boy.
Man, it's tough because, again, when you looked at the stats, and I won't put them back on the screen, TJ Slayton, only 39% of the snaps, and he's got 20 run stops. That's just wild. And also, when you look at the pressure percentage, right, he is our best interior defensive lineman at providing pressure. Guys, he's sitting at 8.3%. That's a tenth of a percent higher than Devontae Wyatt.
He might be one of those guys we go to early as well, right?
I would
get something done, maybe get a little discount.
Yeah.
Don't even let him hit the market.
Right. Maybe you go to him and say, hey, look, man, would you take a 3-year deal worth $12 million and we'll guarantee 6 of it, right?
Yep.
And he may go, you know what, I might not get that on the market. And if he says no and he tests the market and that's the better deal, now he's got to understand that we're not getting that deal's on the table for an early signing, right?
Yep.
If you go and test the market and you get half of that, guess what? You're getting half of that to stay in Green Bay.
And at 27 going on 28, that's gonna be that minimum number he's gonna be looking for, probably, is at least something to take him through 30 years old. I agree with that approach. Another thing is maybe you go longer term deal and you tack those void years on and stretch that money out, giving him a little more, you know, security and stability, knowing that he's committed to being here in the long run, and then we can spread that money out. But I would like, either way, I would like to go to him a little early and try and make an offer. And then, hey, if he doesn't like it, then yeah, let him hit the market. It is what it is. But you gotta take a shot, man, because I feel like TJ this year has really identified and embraced the role that I think the Packers wanted for him on this D line, which is being a run stuffing monster. And we didn't really see that last year from him. We always talked about, you know, not really having a good pass rush with TJ and those sort of things. And I think it finally kind of dawned on him, like, hey, this is my role with this D line group, is just being a monster in the middle, man, and staying gap discipline and stopping the run. And we've seen it this year without a lot of reps. So I hope they keep TJ around. I really do.
I do too. This, again, there's what I want them to do, and then there's precedent, right? Like, I would want them to go to him. Now's the time to go to him early, too. If you're going to do it, now's the time. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent this offseason. But precedent would suggest they're going to let him test the market and then have a chance to match it. That's probably what will happen there. Let me get your comment first. Michael A. Smith says Slayton is Gravedigger Jr. It's so true, man. He's again, I know he doesn't play that much. He should be playing more. And we talked about this. It was probably week 6 or 7, 10. We noticed that, hey, this dude has been more effective than both Kenny Clark and Devontae Wyatt. Why not get him more snaps? Hopefully they continue to do that. And that's not the dog Kenny or dog Wyatt. It's just, hey, look, play the hot hand.
Yeah.
If this guy's playing out of his mind, let's get him in the lineup. Let's do this.
When you take that approach, it lights a fire under your other guys too. You know, you talk about Kenny, like if somebody's, you know, not playing with their hair on fire enough, yeah, pull them out, take a few reps from them, see what that does. And they see their teammate playing well and executing. That's going to make them step up and want to give even more effort. So I like that approach too. I think you start to give TJ a little bit more action here.
Yeah, Cheesehead Murph in the chat. Good to see you, buddy. Says, y'all see the narrative they're trying to push with Micah Parsons. I don't want him on our team. Stop pushing that idea. I'm with you, Murph.
Murph said, nope.
Yeah, Micah Parsons is a great player. But look at these cap hits. Like, how do you work that in to this salary cap model, right? You can do it, but it's going to take pushing a lot of money out.
And who are you getting rid of to bring him in? Because you're not
Who
going
would he
to
replace?
put Micah Parsons on a team and then let him sit on the bench. So
Right.
you're
And
gonna
that's
have
the
to
thing
make some
too.
personnel changes.
If you bring in Micah, if you don't like that $25.5 million cap hit next year on Gary, you're really not going to like Micah's new contract. It's probably going to crack $30 million per.
Yeah.
Right. So you're spending all that money on that one player. And again, Murph's not saying this. Murph's against it. That's why I'm kind of looking at it the same way, Murph. I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. And on top of that, you invested a first-round pick into Lucas Van Ness, and you've got Kingsley Enagbare. We just talked about how he's playing really good football. We're like 7th in the league in sacks right now, I believe.
Yep.
So,
and Micah Parsons is a great player, but let's be honest. I mean, his strong suit is pass rush.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what he does, and that's what you saw last night. You saw Tampa Bay trying to take that away from Dallas all night long, not allowing Micah Parsons to get to Baker Mayfield. That's what they tried to do. So I'm not saying he's one-dimensional. I just wonder with the guys that we already have on this team, like where does he fit in into this system?
Definitely. It's just, again, you're going to stop the progress of Lucas Van Ness as well, Kingsley Enagbare. If you bring Micah Parsons in, then you go, okay, we got us another stud edge defender. That's great and all, but your salary cap's upside down now. And obviously you're going to stop the progress of those other two young players. I would much rather have, and I don't even know what Micah Parsons' numbers are. We should probably look that up, man. I would like to see what his NFL Pro pressure numbers are and compare. Let's do that, man. Tim, if you can hit on a couple things in the chat real quick, just it don't matter what it is, just buy me a little time. I'm going to go to NFL Pro and see if I can pull up Micah Parsons' numbers. I want to know how much better he is than Rashawn Gary at rushing the quarterback and at run stops. I'm going to look that up real quick if you don't mind.
Sure. Randy in the chat is with Murph. Parsons, new. J. Cole says Micah is a perfect fit for the Cowboys. Stay right where you are. All good says trade Kenny Clark. I don't know if that's going to happen, but Nick McSwain also saying overpay for Dexter Lawrence. Okay, well, that lends credence to your point, Clayton, right? You overpay for great. You don't want to overpay for good. Dexter Lawrence, top tier guy in this league, obviously. So I think that's a valid point from Nick McSwain. We got Prince in the chat. Hope tonight is the night for Hopper. Yes.
Hey, there you go.
Give me some Tyron Hopper, please. I agree 100%.
We got the numbers here.
You got it? Let's go.
So his sack number is 9.5. So he has 3 more sacks than Rashawn Gary. His quarterback pressure is through the roof at 19.4%, right? Gary's is at 13.1. So when we look at his run stop, right? Let's see if we can find his stops here. His stops on the year, however, let's see, at 37, Gary's stops are 33. So he only has 4 more run stops than Rashawn Gary. So if you're talking about coupling those two up, right? Again, we're not saying this is going to happen, but it got brought up. We're trying to justify the move, seeing that some people have pissed off Murph, trying to force this narrative, right? What you're talking about is 3 more sacks than Rashawn Gary has, okay? And you're talking about let's see, what would it be? How many more run stops? 20. He's got 27 run stops. Actually, Rashawn Gary's got more run stops than him. I'm sorry. Yeah, Micah Parsons only has 27 run stops. Gary has 33. So you're talking about a worse run defender than Rashawn Gary and 3 extra sacks to completely flip your salary cap upside down. Yep. And I think somebody said trade Kenny Clark. You could free up the cap by getting rid of Kenny Clark. 2 different players. Yep. Kenny Clark is that interior guy. I've been of the opinion for a long time, you need a true 3-tech. Kenny is not the 3-tech. In my opinion, it's not that he can't play 3-tech. It's just it hasn't worked. Now, it doesn't mean you just throw him to the curb, right, and cut him loose. But what it does mean is you go and continue to try to find that next 3-tech. Devontae Wyatt, great pass rusher. He just struggles against the run. We talked about it with the run stops, right? Yep. Devontae Wyatt in run stops, he has 15 run stops. So, again, TJ Slaton.
Big TJ, man.
Yeah, it feels like it. So if you get TJ on a deal and you continue looking for a 3-tech, you keep this defensive line kind of in place. Lucas Van Ness continues to improve. Kingsley Enagbare continues to improve. You may be looking at Kingsley Enagbare next year, Tim, like you're looking at TJ Slaton this year. Like, hey, let's see if we can get him on a fairly cheap contract, right? A team-friendly deal because we're going early. But time's running out for TJ Slaton. There's no doubt about it, man. He's about to hit the mark. So
and you got Carl Brooks, kind of breathing down his neck there. Another young player that poised for improvement,
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So, and again, it's just, I'm not saying Micah Parsons isn't a great player. He's one of the best pass rushers. He is definitely, I feel comfortable saying, he is a much better pass rusher than Rashawn Gary. But when you're talking about tying up $30 more million in cap, I just can't get on board with it when it comes to another edge defender there, especially what's crazy is like if you hadn't spent the first round pick on Lucas Van Ness, I might feel a little bit different about it, but who knows, man? You never know what's going to happen in the offseason for sure. So I think we've looked at the defensive line pretty handily here, Tim. We'll keep this thing moving. As a matter of fact, we're up against the gun here on hour one. For those of you listening on the pod, we will see you on the other side for hour two. We appreciate y'all. All right, let's move along to hour two, and let's move on to the next position group. We got a pretty good grab on that. I just want to point out Brenton Cox Jr., Kingsley Enagbare, they're doing a great job providing depth. You don't see Aaron Mosby on here either. For whatever reason, Spot Track has him listed as a linebacker, I believe. So we'll see his number. Matter of fact, let's just look at his number real quick. Yeah, $915,000 for Mosby, and he's an exclusive rights free agent. So if the Packers want him back, they'll have him back as well. Seems like the depth is in place for the edge position group. Anyway,
yeah,
so.
I'm with Coach Len in the chat too. I still think we have something in Mosby and Brenton Cox. I agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I agree. I see those two players. I see the future. I really do.
Definitely. All right, let's move along to linebacker. This has been a big talking point this year. Obviously, Quay Walker, $3.7 million against the cap this year. He's under contract next year for only $4.4 million. As the green dot Mike, I don't think that's a bad number. I just wish he played better. Now, unfortunately, he gets hurt right as he's kind of peaking this year. Who knows? That could have been him turning the corner. Now we'll probably see a little bit of a setback with the injury. So we'll see how that continues to play out. But Edgerrin Cooper, $1.5 million this year, $1.9 million next year. Here's where it gets interesting. Both Eric Wilson and Isaiah McDuffie are going to be unrestricted free agents this offseason. So they're going to get to test the market. The question is, what's the market going to look like for them? I think Isaiah McDuffie will probably get some pretty decent offers. So there's probably a decent chance that he leaves. Eric Wilson, seeing that he's 30 years old, I don't think his market's going to be very hot. I could see him returning back to the Packers. I
don't know. Don't forget about Goody DiCaprio. We got Eric Wilson's going to be on the wrong side of 30 here. Just saying.
We do know Tyron Hopper will be on the roster, right? $1 million flat. He's $1.2 million next year against the cap. Aaron Mosby, again, we treat him as a defensive end. Just forget that. He should not be listed as an outside linebacker in this 4-3. And then Michael Barrett they picked up. Michael Barrett was on our draft board, Tim. I think we talked about this when we picked him up and put him on the practice squad, trying to see where we had him. We had him kind of the middle of the pack.
Yeah.
He was definitely a top 200 prospect. He might have been closer to 150. It looks like he was worthy of the 158th pick. So the fact that you got him sitting on your practice squad, and we'll see if he continues to improve. The point is, him being on the practice squad, that should reset to a futures contract if no one goes after him. Then Michael Barrett will be back next year as well. So your linebacker room, if everybody walks in free agency, is going to look like Quay Walker, Edgerrin Cooper, Tyron Hopper, and Michael Barrett as it sits right now. Now, obviously, 4-3, will Tyron Hopper step into that third linebacker position? Even if he does, you're going to need to go get at least one, maybe two linebackers, probably two if they don't see Michael Barrett as ready to, play significant game time.
That may be the argument for keeping Eric Wilson around for a year or two. Like if McDuffie's going to test the market and maybe get a contract, Eric Wilson might have a little lighter interest in free agency. Maybe you get him locked up, do a 1, 2, or 3 year kind of deal and just say, hey, you're going to retire in Green Bay. We'll get you set up with some incentive-based kind of contract, some guaranteed money, and you're going to be that veteran presence in that young, linebacker room. That may be a play. You never know.
Yeah, I completely agree. If it were me, the way I would approach this is I would let Eric Wilson, Isaiah McDuffie test the market, and then if neither of them get a hit, then hey, let's bring them back. I'm cool with that, because now what you've got is the same returning linebacker room, and you've got room for one guy if for some reason a stud drops to you in the draft, right?
Yep.
That could potentially happen. But if they go and hit the market and somebody offers Isaiah McDuffie $4 million per, I'm probably capped out at the $2.5 million mark, something like that. You know, Eric Wilson, same thing. I would put a little more value on Eric Wilson than I would McDuffie. That's just me personally.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing, like I said, is age. Age is the only thing negative for Eric Wilson. But if you look at the way he plays, he's always available, and he doesn't play like your typical 30-year-old. He's still got some youth in them legs. So I don't know. It's going to be tough.
Yep, Coach Lynn says, I'm good with that. Maybe keep Wilson for sure. He said, I love McDuffie, but we will move forward on him. I think, like I said, I think he's put enough on tape that someone will probably offer him a little more than we're willing to give. We'll see, though. So there's your linebacking room and how it sits. Of course, with Quay, you got the choice of the fifth-year option coming up this offseason. That's going to be really interesting to see if they pick that up. I know we got a dozen Krispy Kreme donuts on that one with CJN, right?
That's right. We have to double check.
Put that ticker up there. That way, when it rolls through, we'll know for sure. So the bet is, I said they'll probably fifth-year option at least one of those guys, possibly both. And I think CJN's bet was, and I want to make sure, let's confirm here, that they will not put a fifth-year option on either of them. Is that right, Tim?
Yeah, I typed this up pretty quick on there, so hopefully I got everything.
And I did too. I adjusted it because you did. We were trying to do it on the fly. Let's see. CJN's in here, I believe. Let's just make sure we got this right. Again, these bets matter, guys. It's important. Jacob might be getting a tattoo on his left butt cheek, so we got to keep up with this stuff. All right. Let's see here. Tucker Kraft drinks the Gatorade of working men. That was Emilio's.
Oh, Emilio, you're the man.
Yeah. This is my favorite. When we were talking about going to Brazil, Tim said, I'll play the Eagles on the damn moon.
All right, here's the bet. Chris Ann versus Clayton for a dozen Krispy Kreme donuts. Chris says Goody will not give fifth-year options for both Quay Walker and Devontae Wyatt. That's the bet.
Yeah. So all it takes is one fifth-year option.
One, and you got a dozen Krispy Kremes, man.
That's what I'm trying to get rid of this double chin, and it just keeps coming back. Stuff like this. Seth Ruder with the super chat. Appreciate you, buddy. He says, can you explain the difference between the 3-tech and other traders? So when we talk 3-tech, I think that's what he's asking, Tim. Is that the way you understand it too there? You can confirm in the chat. Seth, you just want to know what we mean by 3-tech?
We have that chart. We don't still have our
no, we don't have it. It's okay, though. We can describe it here. So actually, you know what we could do? Might make it easy. Let me go to the Telestrator and explain that way. I think we should have enough screen grabs.
Pull up a box cam shot or something.
I think we might have a box cam. Let's see here if we got it. Let me go.
Look at this, professional.
You drop this down. I don't know about that. Now let's don't go lying to these good folks. Let's see here. All right, let's see if we got it up here. All right, so you guys can see this, right? All right, so the 3-tech. When we talk about a 3-tech, when we talk about any tech, it's basically talking about how the defensive line is lining up. This is what you call a 34 jam. And with a jam is you've got a guy lined up in the 0. Let me go red here so y'all can see it. A 0-tech. And then typically both guards are covered at some point, and you got 2 wide 9s. Okay. You got a 5-man front, one's in a 0-tech, and you got 2 wide 9s. That's not the question. A 3-tech. Let's talk about what the techs mean here. Okay. So if you're lined up over a player, okay, that's a 0 if you're over the center directly. Text voice texting. Okay,
yeah, he was voice texting. That's what he meant. So the difference between text.
Don't be texting and driving. I love it. Okay, so over the center is a 0. Okay, that's what you call a 0-tech right there. Okay, 0. If you're lined up directly over the guard, right, that's what you would call over top of that. Think of it this way. Even numbers are directly over the player. So 0 over the center, 2 over the guards, okay? And then over the tackles would be a 4, okay? So it's 0, 2, 4 is how that lines up, all right? That's what we mean by tech. Now, we'll go blue for the numbers in between. If you're lined up in this gap, okay, each gap is going to be an odd number. So that gap is a one tech. Okay. And then, I'm sorry, in here is a one tech. We've already screwed it up. In the interior would be a one tech, right? This one here would be the three tech.
Yeah.
Okay. So in between the guards and the tackle are your three tech. Now, let's clear that off. So what we're talking about is in between the guard and the tackle, what defender is going to line up in between the guard and the tackle? Because typically you don't have a 34 jam front, right? You've got a 4-man front. So imagine this guy X'd out of the equation, and we'll go in red. Typically the way you line up is you're either in an under or an over. If you're in an over front, you're going to be shaded to the strong side. Okay. So again, pretend like this guy doesn't exist. And let's say you've got a guy lined up in the one tech here, right? And then a guy lined up in the 3. This guy's close to being a 3. So the one tech is more like a nose tackle. Think of your traditional like TJ Slaton type player, right? A little more junk in the trunk, if you will. All right. They're going to play one tech typically. Kenny has played a lot of one tech this year. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to say that Kenny hasn't played 3, because he has. So that 3 tech, the whole purpose of that, Seth, and the reason it's so important is you have a 3 tech, right, that's going to occupy double team blocks because they're so dominant. You're looking to occupy – this tackle's got to fan out and cover this wide 9 right here, right? So what will typically happen is when you've got a good 3 tech is you're forcing them to play one-on-one or shade the tackle or the center over to help. So you're kind of bending the offensive line protection to occupy that as well. Now, if you've got a dominant edge defender on the opposite side, what you've got to do now as an offensive line is you've got to say, we've got to pick one of those 2 guys to double team, or we have to keep in a 6-man protection. In this case, it means you're eliminating one guy from going out in the route. He's going to have to help chip. And that's why Rashawn Gary's been one of the most chipped guys in the league this year, right? So if you go get a true 3 tech, you're going to occupy. This guy's got to fan out and block this defensive end. These 2 are going to have to work over and double team. Or what's going to happen is these guys are going to fan over and double team, and this center has to take the 1 tech, and now you're one-on-one with the 3 tech. So essentially, when you've got a solid 3 tech and a solid edge defender, you've got to choose between one of those 2. Which one are we going to double in a 5-man protection? Okay. Yep. That's what makes it so difficult. Now, back to the God, what was it? Micah Parsons talk, right? If you go get Micah Parsons, forget paying a 3 tech. What you're saying is we're going to pay 2 edge defenders top money. Now, when you do that you got the same thing applies, right? They've got to pick and choose who is it that they're going to choose to double team and the edge. And you may have to do a double chip, right? You may have to do a double chip and then a leak out here, double chip, leak out here, right? Yep. You could do it. The problem, though, is you're allocating all your resources to just edge, and now you've got this huge hole in the middle where you don't have a true 3 tech to help you in the interior with run defense. So again, Kenny, it's not that Kenny's had a bad year. To me, Kenny has been getting double teamed a lot, just like Gary has, but that's opened things up for other guys like TJ Slaton to make tackles there in the run stop, if that makes sense. So hopefully that explains it. That's not the best image to use. A 4-man front would be the best thing.
Sure.
And again, I don't have any box cam, but like here's a good example, right? Like right here, there's your 3 tech, there's your 1 tech, right? So again, if you've got a dominant edge out here and a dominant 3 tech, that causes a 5-man protection, a ton of trouble, just an absolute headache on Sundays. So hopefully that explains it. Again, though, the tech's real simple. The best way to look at it, even numbers are directly over players. Okay, even numbers are directly over players. The odd numbers are the gaps in between. And if you want to start splitting hairs, and coaching staffs do this, then you can start looking at 2I. Like this right here, technically, we've been labeling this right here as a 3 tech this whole video. He's not technically a 3 tech. He's not in the gap. What we call a 4I. If he was directly over the tackle, it would be a 4. But see how he's playing the inside half? That's what you call a 4I, a 4 inside. And there are no 4 O's. It basically goes like when you're playing in this
different tech, yeah.
When you're playing on the inside shoulder or the outside shoulder of the center, they call that shade. When you're playing on the inside shoulder of the guards, that's called 2I. Inside shoulder of the tackles is called 4I. All right. And you could keep it going. You could go 6 here, 6I. But typically, once you get outside of the outside shoulder of the tackle. Everybody just refers to these guys as wide nines, whether they're truly a wide nine or not. So hopefully that makes sense.
Yep.
All right, that was a lot. This is why we don't talk X's and O's much, because I will go on a tangent and say, oh, yeah, but this, oh, that too, because it all is important, right? And Seth, hopefully that answered your question about the techniques there, buddy. That's truly how defensive coaches look at it. So Mike Witt with the super chat. Appreciate you, buddy. He says, surprise Hopper hasn't gotten more playing time this year with Quay hurt and Cooper missing time earlier. 34-17 Packers tonight. Book it. Put it on the ticker.
I like it.
I do too, man. Yeah, as far as Hopper, I think it says a lot, right? Like, Mike, we talk all the time about, you want me to show you where, or you want to know where someone's priorities lie. You look at their checkbook and you look at their calendar, right? That'll tell you the most important thing in people's lives is, what are they spending their time on and what are they spending their money on? Well, with the Packers, it's kind of the same thing. How much is Hopper getting paid? Not a whole lot. He's a young draft pick. Got it. How much playing time is he getting? Even with injuries this year, both Cooper and Quay. I want to say Eric Wilson or McDuffie was banged up 1 week too.
Yeah.
The fact he hasn't gotten on the field, to me, says he's probably not ready yet. But sooner or later, Tim, you got to take the training wheels off. He's going to be thrust in, and tonight might be that.
We can say the same thing in the secondary about Kalen King. You know, we've had injuries in that secondary. We have not seen Kalen King on the field. So, yeah, it says more about the development of these rookie players, I think, than anything. And, you know, sometimes having the physical attributes is great, but if you can't process the game, or you're not understanding, you know, the concepts or assignments out there, or you're not processing that information fast enough, then they're not going to throw you out on an NFL field and get you killed. So I think it's just a, you know, work in progress for Hopper. One of the, you know, between Edgerrin Cooper and Evan Williams, I think I was probably the most excited for Oladapo and Hopper. So I, you know, talk about guys that we haven't seen much. We haven't seen much Oladapo here, a little bit here and there, peppered in, right? Special teams. Same thing with Hopper. We've gotten some glimpses. Hopefully, you know, with more time, we just start to see more reps and, you know, see the development of these guys. But it's a testament to our coaching staff to, you know, not feel that pressure to just throw a rookie out there because you feel like you have to.
Right.
You know, you've got to use your depth to your advantage. And there's a reason why we've got guys like McDuffie and Wilson on this team to kind of fill those roles when needed. So I think it says more about Hopper's development than anything, honestly, why we're not seeing him.
Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Hopper hurt in camp too? Seemed like he did get banged up in camp, because people were talking about him popping folks in practice, like, hey, this guy's a thumper. And then I want to say he battled an injury in camp. I could be wrong,
because I know Coop was hurt during the preseason and most of camp. But yeah, I think you might have been right. I think that could have kind of stunted his growth a little bit there if you missed some time early on.
Yeah. Mike Witt with the super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says, if they bring back Quay, I think his best position is outside linebacker with Coop in the middle. Jacobs going for 150 and 2 tuds tonight. Number 52, 2 sacks too. Let's go, man. Let's go. We will continue the white jersey tradition tonight, Tim. We got to keep that going, as we both did not coordinate it. Showed up with 2 white jerseys on last week, and everything went good. So let's just keep that going. We'll be sporting the Gary jersey tonight. So now, as far as if they bring back Quay, let him play outside linebacker. The way I look at that, Mike, we're in nickel the majority of the time, somewhere between 65 and 75% of the snaps. So there's only going to be 2 linebackers out there. And when you're talking Mike and Will in the nickel 4-2-5, they are very, very interchangeable. So if you're strictly talking about 4-3, the base, I don't disagree with you. However, the Mike will typically in a 4-3 base will be the one to protect the seam. Although if you're in a base, most of the time they're running the football. That Mike defender has got to be a gap destroyer, right? And I personally don't see Quay as that. I see him as a guy who can cover vertically, though. So it's like he's got half the package for being a solid Mike in a base 4-3, but not having that ability to run stop. Like, you know, we were looking at the numbers. Let's just go ahead since we got the linebackers up here, Tim. I'm going to pull this up on the screen real quick and talk about this. Made sense to me when we looked at the linebacking core. This is kind of how it's felt. When you go to run stops with the linebackers, Isaiah McDuffie leads the team with 41 run stops. Okay. Now, I want to point this out too. Let me get it zoomed in here just a touch. Here we go. So he leads the team at the linebacking room with 41 run stops, and he's only played 68.9% of the snaps. Okay.
Mhm.
Quay has played 88.9% of the snaps, and he only has 40 run stops. Edgerrin Cooper has only played 46.3% of the snaps, and he's at 28 run stops. So essentially, if you doubled Edgerrin Cooper's snap count, he still would fall far short of Quay's snap count, and he would have 56 run stops if the numbers continued to trickle the way they did, right? So again, Quay Walker, great at vertical coverage. Down the seam, there's probably nobody better in the league at the mock backer that isn't named Fred Warner at doing that. He is solid at that. But underneath stuff, man, he's just so hesitant. So when it comes to the run stops, that would suggest, though, Isaiah McDuffie, that's what I'm talking about. Teams are going to look at that and look at the tape and go, this guy plays the run really well. Let's offer him a little bit of money. And he's 26 years. He's going to be 26, right? You talked about that. So
it's very realistic that McDuffie's gone and Wilson might play another year or two for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's right. So again, when you look at the tackles, Quay's got 102 tackles. You go, man, he's a tackle machine. He is, but the run stop number being down, it just lines up with what we have talked about, how that's where he struggled in his game. Now, when you go to passer rating when targeted at the linebacker position, right? Forget Tyron Hopper. He's only, I don't know how many snaps, 9 snaps. You got to throw that 0 rating out. But look at Edgerrin Cooper, Tim. He has played how many snaps now? 309 snaps. His passer rating when targeted is a 37.1, bro. This dude is a monster. So he would be, as far as his run stop percentage, he leads the linebacker room in run stop percentage, and he also leads the linebacker room in coverage. Now, Quay Walker is second behind him at 100.9, Eric Wilson at 104.6, Isaiah McDuffie 125.4. So if you were to take Isaiah McDuffie's run stop ability with Quay Walker covering the seam, you've got a much better linebacker there. But again, 2 half of players don't make a great player when they can't be on the field together most of the time, right?
So true.
What this little exercise should show people, though, man, is Edgerrin Cooper is the real freaking deal, dude. Like,
yeah, you pick that up right away when you see this guy. You talk about a player flashing in his rookie year.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy looks like a grown man playing with little children out there on that field. I mean, it's crazy. The game does not look too big for him. It almost looks like easy, and he has great. I think he has great FBI for a rookie for sure. He's definitely grasping NFL speed and these concepts very quickly. So he's just exciting to watch. And again, another guy, like, there is no ceiling. Like Edgerrin Cooper. Like, we're just going to continue to see explosive growth from him. And it's awesome to have him back there. Like I said, still waiting. Fingers crossed we're going to get that full game of him and Quay on the field together. I want to see it at least once here.
Yeah, definitely. Ron Samuel, and again, Mock Witt, thank you for the second super chat there, buddy. We really appreciate you. Ron Samuel says, 5th-year option can be spread out over a few years, or am I mistaken? That is correct. I did not know that until last year. They did that with Savage. So with Savage, they tacked on the 5th-year option. They added 2 or 3 voidable years, spread it out over the duration of those voidable years. It reduced the cap hit for that current year. But keep in mind, the second that player is cut loose and not on the team, all that money that you spread out over the voidable years accelerates to the current year. So all it does is it buys you cap space and time for that current year. But if you decide not to bring them back on an extension, then that voidable year, you may have spread it out through 27 and 28. It accelerates to 25 because he's no longer on the roster. In this case, if we did that with Quay, it would be 26 would be the year that happens. So yes, you can free up that fully guaranteed contract, but when you're talking about what we say, Tim, it was $13 million for Quay and $10 million for Devontae Wyatt. Does that sound right? I think that was
Something
the number.
like that.
Yeah, for the 5th-year options. So, Biz in the chat says Quay's starting to make more decisive plays now. Hopefully, we see Coop and Quay play together. Yeah. That's what sucks about the injury, because that was the best I've seen Quay play in a long time, man.
I know, and then he tweaks the ankle, right? It's like, ugh. And Hopper, we saw peppered it a little, but like Edge Cooper, man, just coming on strong, and Quay starting to play really good ball. It's like you get so excited to see the potential of that tandem in the middle there, and it's just we're getting cheated of it. So hopefully Quay's back sooner than later, man.
Yeah. So Nick I was wrong on that. Nick said $16 million for Quay, $13 for
That's
Wyatt.
what it was.
So,
yeah.
So if you were to, let's say you played that game with Quay and you said 5th-year option, tack on 3 voidable years and spread it out over the duration of those voidable years, what you would essentially be doing is you can't do the full amount. So let's say you would do, over those 3 years, you do $3 million per year. So you could absorb $9 million of that cap, what would be cap hit for 2026, right? But you would spread out $9 million of it at $3 million per on those 3 voidable years. Therefore, that cap hit would only be $5 million for 2026. That makes sense. So again, in the second that he's not on the roster, that $9 million will accelerate to the first year that he's not on the roster. You got to pay that bill as soon as they're not on your roster. Keep them on, and you sign them to an extension, then you can throw the new extension within those voidable years and the complete structure of the contract. Like you can reset those voidable years. So if you gave him a 4-year extension the year after you tacked on the 3 voidable years, then you got the 4-year extension to spread the whole cap hit out. But also you can tack on more voidable years on the backside of that if you wanted to as well. I'm not saying we should do that, but that's how that works. So hopefully that makes sense. Mike Witt asked, is Jair playing tonight or not? We were going to hit this on the pregame show. We've got the injury report, Tim. Here's the latest. Jair Alexander is questionable. Corey Ballantyne's questionable. Javon Bullard is out. No surprise there. Luke Musgrave's questionable. Quay Walker is out. We expected that as well. Evan Williams is questionable with the quadricep. What sucks about Evan Williams is wasn't on the injury report Thursday or Friday. He popped up on Saturday limited, and he's now questionable. I'm kind of leaning toward, hey, don't try to get him out there. If he tweaks something, he being Evan Williams, if he tweaks something, I would be okay with them sitting him, and let's throw Zane Anderson out there like we did a couple weeks ago. Again, not that you're overlooking the Saints. You still got to show up and play ball. But you could see they got a bunch of people out too. Derek Carr out. Obviously, we expected that. Alvin Kamara is now officially listed as out. Bub Means, wide receiver, out. And Chris Olave, wide receiver with the head injury. He is out. MVS is even questionable too with a chest injury and a / illness. So, again, we'll hit on all that, the actives, inactives on the pregame show. But since Mike Witt has been hitting the super chats up and he asked that question, I want to hit it real quick. So, hopefully we get Jai out there. But again, only if he's healthy. You're out there.
Yeah, I think so. I really do. I don't know. This is just here we go again, right? This has been a long battle. But the worst thing that could happen now is after waiting 6 weeks, you put him out there a week too early and then he's done. So I'm with you. Let's just hold off. We might see some Oladapo tonight. You never know.
So Mike Witt hit us with a super chat asking that question. Sorry, Mike. Appreciate the extra dono there, buddy, but hopefully we answered that. So he's listed as questionable, 50-50 shot of playing. I don't know, man. I'm not expecting him to play. Maybe he will. The good news is if he does play, it means he's 100% healthy, right? Because they've been very, very
as close to it as you can be, right, at this time of the year. Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. All right. And let's see. Ron Sample says, I think the activated have to be by 2 o'clock Central today. So we'll find out who is active and inactive. Like I said, for the pregame show, we'll definitely have that stuff ready for you guys for sure. As All Good was asking too, Musgrave is not activated, right? So he's out. We got till 2 o'clock according to Ron Sample, and Ron's always got some solid information in here. So we should find out soon enough for sure. Let's get back. Let's try to finish up this contract stuff. That way we don't have to revisit it later on tonight. Let's go to the secondary, and they've got the corners and the safeties lumped in together here. Jair Alexander on the books this year for $23.9 million. Next year it jumps to $25.8. Xavier McKinney, Tim, $7.8 million this year, bro. Like him and Rashawn Gary, absolute steals against the cap this year. Now he'll jump to 17.6 next year, which this is another reason why we're talking about like all this stuff is going to blimp up next year. So you're somewhat limited in what money you can spend. That's why the whole Micah Parsons talk, I try not to even entertain it very much because it's not possible. It's possible, but you're really going to put yourself in a bind for the next 2 to 3 years pushing money out if you were to go for somebody like that. And I think the people that are stirring that up, not to be mean, I think it's fantasy football type folks that just get excited over a big name, you know?
Yeah. Or people looking for engagement on social media.
That's the big thing. Yeah. Yep. They are definitely farming engagement on whether it's Facebook, Twitter, which by the way, man, I've lost a lot of respect for many websites on Facebook. These are guys that they're like at the top of the heap for Packers websites. And every day, Tim, there's something on Facebook that's like, the Packers make a huge decision on a key player. And it's like, and they'll show a picture of someone. And then you click on it. They'll show a picture of Jaire Alexander, and then you click on it, and it's an article about someone else that has nothing to do with the title. You just
Clickbait. Yeah,
it's clickbait. Do what you do. It's cool, but just know you are free to do that. But we as Packer fans are free to not respect your ass and not support. I canceled 2 subscriptions to do 2 different websites for that very thing. I ain't playing that game, man. I ain't playing it.
Oh, we're gonna give him some.
So, again, Xavier McKinney, 7.8. He jumps to 17.6 next year. Keyshawn Nixon, $3.9 million in 24. It jumps to 6.8 next year. Eric Stokes, 3.7 this year. He's unrestricted free agent. Corey Ballantyne, $2 million. He's unrestricted free agent. Javon Bullard, 1.2, then jumps to 1.5 next year. Zane Anderson is an unrestricted free agent. I don't think anybody's going to be knocking on his door. If you want him back, you can get him back for probably pennies on the dollar. We'll see how that goes. Evan Williams, though, Tim, $995,000 this year, man.
Gotta love the rookies.
Yeah. Next year, it jumps to $1.1 million. Carrington Valentine basically made the play of the game last week, right? That sealed the middle 8, controlled the momentum, won the turnover differential. $940,000 player, by the way. Next year, he jumps to $1 million flat. Katano Ladapo, $858,000. Robert Rochelle, $468,000. And then, of course, you got the practice squad guys that will be reset if they're on the practice squad at the end of the year to sign a futures contract. So, as the secondary looks, I wish they broke it down into corners and safeties, but unfortunately, they got everybody together. The big talking point is Jaire Alexander, right? 23.9 this year. Next year is 25.8. A lot of the guaranteed money is pretty much gone. So if you were to cut loose with Jaire, you're going to free up a significant amount. We may hit that when we get ready to wrap up. I just don't want to touch it right now because it'll mess this whole screen up. But looking at the defensive backs room, man, safety position looks solid, dude, both cap-wise and obviously play on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, I mean, yeah, we'll see what happens with corner, right? We could see some guys that aren't here in 2025. Corey Ballantyne is a name that kind of comes to mind right away. I wonder what, he's approaching that dirty 30 number in age. And I don't know. I wonder what the market's going to be like for him in free agency. Maybe that's another guy you can bring back for a little bit of a discount. I think Eric Stokes Jr. is probably gone. I don't think he's going to garner a lot of attention in free agency. But then again, we've seen this year that he's proven to, be a decent backup depth kind of option, not a full-on liability out there. There are teams with worse secondaries than ours that could certainly use kind of like a, middle to bottom, top of the bottom tier type of corner that Stokes is. So I don't think we make him an offer or anything unless he's willing to take, stupid pay cut. And I think you're right, man. Safety room, feel real good about it. Got a gem there with Omar Brown. That's still my dude. Still my guy, man. Want to see him develop. And, we got him for peanuts too. So, we'll see how this shapes out.
So we're going to be in the nickel the majority of the time, right? We've talked about this all year long. So what you're looking at is 3 corners and 2 safeties. So let's look at the roster next year. Let's pretend all these unrestricted free agents are gone. None of them are being re-signed, right? So how does your starters change on the defensive side of the ball? Jaire Alexander and Keyshawn Nixon on the outside, that stays the same. You would have Javon Bullard in the slot, that stays the same. Xavier McKinney would be a deep safety along with Evan Williams. Your starting defensive back group is under contract next year. Now, when you go to backup, what changes? If Eric Stokes walks in free agency, and I hope that happens, I expect that to happen. If he walks in free agency, then Carrington Valentine, who split reps with Eric Stokes, will be your backup corner for the outside, right? That's how that's going to work. You'll have Katano Ladapo as a backup safety. Zane Anderson will hit free agency, so you got the contingency plan already in place there. Like you said, Omar Brown may take a step forward. Who knows? Maybe Kamal Haddon or Kalen King steps up and makes a roster next year too. So when you look at the defensive back room, I know people on Twitter are screaming, we got to draft a corner, we got to draft a corner. We were expecting them to draft a corner pretty high last year, seeing that the cornerback draft was pretty stout.
Yeah, and it happened dead last.
7th round. So, again, your starting defensive back room is set. Now, for the people that are saying we got to go get a better corner, obviously what they're taking into consideration is Jair being hurt. So I'm with you. If Jair can't prove that he can stay healthy, then you got to do something. You need to. But if he is healthy and this stays in place, then your cornerback room is set. I know people don't want to hear that, but it's set. You just got to get him healthy because I think he's graded now as the 11th best corner in the league, and I want to say his passer rating when targeted is something like in the 20s. So he's a solid number one. Since we're done with this screen, you're done with this screen, right, Tim?
Yep. Okay,
let's go to Jair Alexander real quick before we wrap up, and let's talk about the ramifications of his contract if we were to let him go and all that stuff. Because there's a lot of talk about, hey, just cut him loose. Let's look at the contract breakdown here, and this is I'm going to go full screen. Hopefully you guys will be able to see this well enough. And I am going to zoom in here as much as we can. Okay, so the way it's sitting right now, we're obviously in year 2024. I wish they would do away with this whole section over here. It drives me insane, man. Let me see if I can jump in here. We may have to scroll over. So here's what we're looking at. You still can't get the whole thing up there, even after we zoom in. Unbelievable, man. Give me just a second, guys. I apologize. I just want to make sure we can get the whole thing on the screen. It's going to look small for you guys, but I'll be able to explain what's going on here. So in 2024, this year, obviously his cap hits $23.9 million. The dead cap attached is $35.4. All right. When we jump to 2025, you notice it says potential out 2025, right? So this is what we're talking about. His base salary in 25 is $16.1 million. His signing bonus, which is prorated, is $6 million. His restructure bonus is $2.3 million. You'll notice the voidable year at the bottom. We'll talk about that in a second. So his cap hit next year is $25.8 million, but the dead cap attached is $19 million flat. So essentially what you can do, Tim, is you can free up over $6 million if you just cut him outright or trade him. Okay, that's where we're at there. 2026, salary goes to $18.1 million. Proration, all that stuff stays in place. The dead cap attached is only $10.7 million, and his cap hit is $27 million. So this is the moral of the story. If you cut bait from Jair next year, you can free up $6 million in cap space. If you cut bait with him in 2026, you're freeing up $20 million in cap space. So I think we all feel comfortable saying he'll at least get that adjusted by 2026. But here's what you got to ask yourself. And this is what we're talking about, like cost analysis in the business world. The question, Tim, is it worth $6 million to keep Jair Alexander in 2025? That's what you ask yourself.
Yes.
Would you rather free up $6 million or would you rather keep Jair Alexander? You're saying yes, definitely, right?
I'm keeping Jair.
Now let me ask you this. What if I have a time machine and he only plays 8 games next year?
But we don't, so that's not fair. We don't know. We don't know that.
You would say that's not.
We don't know that.
But this is exactly the analysis that Goody's making right now. I guarantee.
Yeah, I get
it. Hey, when he's on the field, he's one of the best, but he hasn't been on the field.
First of all, I don't think there's a scenario where they just cut him. That's not going to happen.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, that won't happen. Now, trying to work a trade package that includes, like, I don't know, a 3-tech and, a draft pick or something, maybe. Right. But I'm of the logic that, there's facts and there's feelings, and the feelings are, Ja's not available. Well, yeah, he's hurt. That happens when you play football, and Ja has made repeated efforts to see the field throughout the season, and it hasn't panned out. You can't knock Jair Alexander for that. I mean, you just can't. The guy's injured. It happens. And I think we're better as a secondary when he's on the field. And I just feel like you can't just entertain the idea of an outright cut to save up some money. I think a trade is possible, but Ja's got that hefty contract attached to his name. That could make a trade a little interesting. But that's my dude, man. I want to see him here.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I understand, man. And again, I'm trying to remove all emotion as a fan and looking at it from a business standpoint. Here's what I keep coming up with. He won't get traded and he won't get cut. They're going to restructure. So, And what I mean by that, guys, is hang with me here a second. If I can get this zoomed in enough, I won't be able to because this absolutely sucks. But okay, focus on 2025 next year. Okay, you can see my cursor, right, Tim? All right,
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So here's how his contract lays out in 2025. Hang with me for a second. I'm going to try to say this as slow as possible and try not to confuse anybody. His salary is $16.1 million. Okay. Workout bonus $700K, nothing. Roster bonus, nothing at $650K. So what you've got to work with is this salary right here, $16.1 million. Okay. So what you can do is you can convert salary to signing bonus, write him a check, and then you spread it out over the duration of the contract. That's how that works. Okay. So if you go to Jair and go, hey, Jai, listen, buddy, I know your guaranteed money is pretty much coming to an end here, and you haven't been on the field, right? The reality is he has missed over 50% of the snaps in the last 30-some games. Okay. Now, if we were a normal working man, Tim, if you miss half of if you got an hourly job and you miss half of your work, guess what, bub? I didn't have to pay you half of your salary, right? I didn't have to pay you half of your hourly.
But if I got hurt on the job, though, you might have some economic responsibility to me,
Absolutely.
whether I'm working or not.
That's where a buyout comes in. And here's the other thing too: was it your fault? Was it our fault? We can go down that rabbit hole all day long. Right. So what I would do if I was Goody is I would go to Ja and say, how about we do this? This $16.1 million, right? How about we convert, let's convert $5 million to a signing bonus. And what that means is if we cut you outright, you're going to miss out on $6 million. We want to write you a $5 million check right now, but we want to cut your salary down as well. So if we convert $5 million of it to signing bonus, if you agree to waive $3 million in salary, you see what I'm saying? You're getting a little bit of security up front with the signing bonus. We can't take that back. That's your money. You keep that. It goes in your bank account today. But you got to be willing to waive an extra $3 million. So what you would do is you would remove a full $8 million of the $16 million off of the salary cap hit for 2025. And then that $6 million that you or that $5 million that you just converted into signing bonus, right? You would spread that over the duration of 2026 and 2027, just tack on an extra $2.5 million. Okay. So you would free up cap space to the tune of $8 million in 2025. That would lower his cap hit to roughly $18 million. Now the question is it worth it to keep Jair on the roster for at $18 million cap hit as opposed to $25 million? I feel a lot better about that. I think that's the approach that Goody will take. We'll revisit this and we'll pull up the dates, and we do a good job of this in the offseason to kind of get everybody prepped. All right, we're entering that window where these restructures should start to take place. I think he's going to be primed for a restructure this year, partly because the structure's already in place with this 2027 voidable year, and you can even tack more voidable years on there if you want to. So I know there's some people that are cap doom and gloomers that are going to hate that idea. I respect that. I got you. I know there's people like Tim that's like, hey, look, you may even believe we don't need to touch anything. It ain't Ja's fault he got hurt. He's going to be fully healthy next year. I expect that. And he's worth 25.8. I can understand that standpoint. But me, like as a business owner, I would approach it this way and go, all right, let's give ourselves a little bit of security, a little bit of insurance. Let's free up $8 million in cap space next year because we're going to need it for these players like Xavier McKinney, Rashawn Gary, that these numbers are going to blimp on, right? That's the way I would approach that. And also, listen, if Jair's insulted by you going to him and going, hey, look, we want to write you a $5 million check today, okay? And in return, we want you to free up $3 million in cap for us in salary because you haven't been available for over 50% of the games that you were under contract for. If he's got a problem with that, then you would
I'm with you.
And if you get a 5th round pick for Jair Alexander and you free up that cap, he wasn't happy here anyway because he didn't want the restructure. It's just one of those things that, hey, we're going to agree to disagree and we'll respectfully part ways. That's business, right? So I don't know if that makes sense, but
it does. And I'm with you. I think restructure is the best approach and probably the most likely to happen.
Yeah, I think so too, man. I could see that being the way they go for sure. Now we'll find out soon enough. Obviously, we get into the off season, we're going to know exactly how that's going to play out, and it's going to be fun, man. I really enjoy this stuff. Enjoy talking about this. The off season is a lot of fun here on this show because we're not going to criticize people for wanting to talk about the salary cap ramifications and all that good stuff. I know there's some people I care less about salary cap. Shut up, stop talking about it. Okay, dude. All right, got you. We're just gonna rant and rave over he dropped the ball and he didn't. We're gonna try to go as in depth as we possibly can. So, all right, let's see here in the chat. We'll wrap up with the chat real quick. Biz in the chat said, I think restructure is the most likely option. Jair isn't putting up playtime or explosive tape for the other teams to be chomping at the bit to get him. I think that's a fair point too. It's not like he's leading in interceptions or even pass breakups and things like that, right? Carl K, love Clay's explanation. Good view. Appreciate you, buddy. Hopefully we explained it enough. And again, listen, I'm no cap guru, nor do I play one on TV, but this is my understanding of how the cap works. And if I'm ever wrong, you guys point it out in the chat and we'll get the correct answer together. Nick McSwain says $18 million for 50% of the snaps over the past 2 years is still steep to me. I completely understand that. I do, man. Again, from a business owner standpoint, if I had an employee that was only available to work 50% of the time, you can bet your sweet ass I'm going, hey, bub, we got to do something. We got to adjust something here, man. Like something's got to happen. Let's see. All good. That was a good explanation on research. Okay, good deal. Glad that we didn't completely botch that. Prince says, I love cap talk. No issues. Good deal, man. Good deal. Let's see here. Brambo, don't we have $65 million in projected cap space next year? Man, that doesn't sound right, Brambo, but you might be right. I haven't looked at it too in depth.
65%.
65%. That's what he's talking about. There you go. Now I get it. I was going to try to look at the overview here for the Packers and see if it shows next year. It typically does, but I've got this zoomed in so far now. I look like I can't even tell what we got going on here. So cap space this year is at $16.3 million is what we got. That's 10th most in the league. Now, keep in mind that 16.3 rolls over into 2025. This number I'm going to hit on includes that rollover as well as what they anticipate the salary cap increasing to. As it sits next year, you're right, $63.3 million in cap space as it sits right now. That's 11th most in the league. So now that includes Jordan Love's contract extension, right? That's everything on the books. So now what you got to ask yourself is these players that we got to re-sign, Tim, and we've talked about this a lot, you're going to use a good chunk of that for the contract extensions you're going to give this coming year. You're going to try to put that on the 2025 books to help alleviate cap pressure in the back. But we're in a good spot, man. We're in a really, really good spot.
Yep.
I just don't want to go blow a good chunk of that on Micah Parsons when we need a real 3-tech,
Yep, so. Absolutely.
All right. Anything else, man? We went over as always, right?
No, it's all good.
All right. That's it, guys. We're out. We'll see you guys about an hour and a half before kickoff. Tim, we need to come up with a time right now. The game kicks off around 8:15. Is that right?
Yeah, 7:15 Central. So you want to do like
we think 6
Central, 6 p.m. Central. Take us to 7.
If we did 6:30, that would run us up to 7:30 Central, right? That's after kickoff, so we can't do that.
Yeah.
So 6. Yeah, let's go 6 Central. That'd be 7 my time. All right.
Perfect.
Cool. All right, so guys, we'll be back 6 p.m. Central Time for the PTA pregame show, taking you up to kickoff for the Packers Saints Monday Night Football matchup. Going to be a cold one out there, so we may have the doors open just to feel like it here in Tennessee. Man, we're down 16 degrees in the mornings here, though, so we're pretty chilly.
Nice.
All right, Tim, appreciate your time, bub.
Thanks, Clay. Love talking ball with you, man. This was a great show.
All right, we will see you guys later on this evening. Get ready, get hydrated for the game. All right, don't be one of those knuckleheads. Don't drink water all day and then think you're going to hit 3 Daddy sodas and crawl around the house the rest of the night. You hear me? We're out. Appreciate you.
There we go. We out.
Bye, guys.